Good morning. Boy, am I
Good
glad
morning,
to see
Christine.
you.
Well, I'm happy to be here on your Aging Better Network podcast. Can you hear any
Wonderful.
background from me?
Yeah.
I'm going to
I
close
thought
a
maybe
window.
I think your window's open. That's okay. It makes for a nicer conversation if we aren't shouting over the good work that's going on
Mm,
outside.
there we go. So now I'm clear. Should be better.
Wonderful. I just want you, please, to introduce yourself because we do this, you and I do this a
Hmm.
lot, but it took months for some people to figure out how we knew each other in other group conversations.
Since we live with the same name, which is a very common name,
Right.
and people don't always assume that because you have the same name, especially a common name. But we are, in fact, married for 38 plus years now. We just passed that
Yeah.
38-year mark.
Yes.
And I produce your show,
Mhm.
well, both of the shows that you're doing right now, both these unscripted conversations and the Pre-Act Your Age podcast, which the most recent one was with Barbara Carnes, which is on your YouTube channel and available on the website.
You put those on there for me.
I think it's on the website. Yeah. If not, it will
Okey
be soon. It will
That's
be
right. We
soon.
can we
Yeah.
can check that after we have this conversation. We don't need to pull up our phones right now and be checking that, and letting whatever coffee or tea might be before us getting cold while we're checking those things.
Mm.
Yes, Barbara Carnes, you have heard me talk about her for years because a neighbor hired me on my front lawn because she thought I looked like a great candidate for giving care. And in some of the homes, I always went into private homes. I didn't work what I call in hallways.
Mm.
It's
Mhm.
just the way that it turned out. I didn't work in a memory care area or something like that. I went into private homes and whatever all was going on, it was always an aspect of aging and usually multiple aspects of aging that made it just better to have another person there. But in some of those situations, hospice had already come and left some booklets behind. So I'd
Mm. Mhm.
seen those booklets and I knew that they existed. I didn't know a person named Barbara Carnes, which my phone always corrects to Barbara Karens because that's just making so
Doesn't
much more
understand.
sense.
Sure. Mhm.
Oh, but I'd already seen those booklets, so I thought, wouldn't that be something? And I'd also watched on my own and because I applied for a company after a season of freelancing, and
There's
I
Dinah.
love it. I love it. Dinah, I am so glad you came. I was hoping you could. Oh, you
Oh.
can't? Well, we can hear you.
Mm-hmm.
We
She's
can
gonna.
hear you. So there's just so many adjustments. And as soon as she can hear us, that's it's okay. It's okay. We'll use sign language. Well, she works on that. I'll simply say, I was trained and I was watching for my own development the Teepa Snow videos of how to relate to someone in dementia. And then here I knew that these booklets were dropped off in my mind by all hospice workers, which is more prevalent now.
Mm-hmm.
But, and I said to you, oh, It would be my dream to someday meet or talk to. I had already done interviews. They were only audio interviews, and I'd already done those for a local radio station. Wouldn't it be great someday to interview Teepa Snow and to
Hmm.
interview Barbara Carnes? You could not you could not pull me down to the ground when that office said, "Hey, we've been looking in on what you've been doing. And by the way, if you would like to interview Barbara Carnes," I could not pull myself down. And now I'm so excited.
So we have
More
Dinah
friends at
and
the
Charla.
table.
Hmm.
Oh, I love
Oh, good.
this.
Good,
Hello.
good, good.
Hi, Charlotte.
Hey,
Dinah,
I am
can you
going
hear
to
us now?
Yes. Yes, I
I'm going
can
to
hear
Oh,
jump
you.
off the
that's
screen
great.
and I will let you guys have the unscripted conversation. I'll just be in the background.
All righty. Well, both Dinah and Charlotte, both of you have met my husband before
Yes.
because Charla, I'm around in person quite often. And Dinah, you said, "I am willing, I will jump in and be your next victim slash guest on a podcast." So you've both met him as my husband and the producer. So we'll let him leave the table, although he has plenty to say on aspects of aging. You know what? Before anyone else jumps in and wonderfully surprises us, Dinah, would you please introduce yourself to Charla?
Oh, yes. Hi, Charla. We've met.
Oh,
I'm Dinah Vink, and I am a coach to women in perimenopause. I live in Ottawa, Canada, and that's me. Now, Christine, I was very interested in the Deepest Snow reference that you mentioned because she has actually come to speak to a group that I hosted here in Ottawa because of my mother living in a long-term care residence. So this was pretty fantastic. Yeah.
so you had the other half of my dream when I first thought, wouldn't it be nice to hold my little microphone and talk to this person as I've done in the past? And you're like, yep, she's already been here. So these busy, wonderful, skilled, passionate people get out there as much as they can. She went up to Ottawa.
Yeah.
I don't remember what state she's in, but thank you. And yes, you're right. Of course, you two have at least seen each other on screen, if not, interacted
Hmm.
outside of that because of the global tea break. So,
That's great.
That's right.
yay. I'm so glad. And so, Charlotte, you already knew that about Dinah.
Mhm.
And Charlotte,
Yes.
I know something more about you. I'm not going to give away anything that you might be about to share, but you have a dad that I had not seen in person before, though he is in the same geographical area as we are. But I got to see him on screen.
Oh, yes, you did.
He was a blast. Boy, he can really direct what's going on, and he just gets going, microphone in front of him. I feel like he did some DJ in a radio station or something, because it was just like FM blah 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 that's what I was feeling. So Dinah might not know what you did just a couple weeks ago.
Oh, well, yes. Dinah, I don't know if you know or not. I'm a member of the Oregon Pain Science Alliance, which is a community of healthcare practitioners and individuals who have learned about self care strategy for dealing with chronic pain. And we have monthly community meetings in the spring and the fall, and I spoke at our September meeting, sharing my personal pain science journey with back pain and neck pain, and how pain science helped me.
Mm. Great.
Pain science is evidence-based, modern science that takes into account that pain um, is complex and it's protective, but sometimes it overprotects us
Mhm.
when there's no longer anything that we shouldn't, like if you break something, you should let it heal. But then once it's healed, the pain doesn't really serve a continuing purpose. But sometimes our brains get stuck on protecting us from something that isn't there anymore. So, uh, wow.
Charlotte, you and I were talking
Complex,
about
and I
something.
need to
Yeah.
stop. But
No,
yeah,
no. Yeah.
that's been a real key thing for me, thinking about my own aging. And I think
Yeah.
probably one of my biggest fears is chronic pain.
That is okay. And now you've opened up another egg. The fears of looking in toward aging. I was
Mhm.
remembering that you and I were talking about that pain science because I looked into it a bit as I
Mhm.
was doing some writing. And the person near us said, "So you're talking about like acupuncture?" And so you had a chance to respond to that, but
Mhm.
there's just so much more there that
Mhm.
really doesn't have to do with somebody doing a procedure or providing a pill. There's so much more to that. Dinah, do you experience people saying perimenopause and then kind of starting into a, is that like, or do you suggest, do people have a preconceived notion about perimenopause that you help them um, maybe expand their horizons on what it is, how it affects your life, other lives, or does everyone just understand perimenopause right away?
No, most people think that perimenopause is just when periods change and there can be some hot flashes.
Hmm.
And that's sort of what people think about. And of course, there's a whole lot more going on because as you change the hormone balance in your body, it doesn't just affect your reproductive system, it affects your entire body. Right. And so people may be having all sorts of symptoms, but they don't connect it with perimenopause because they don't really understand what perimenopause is. And so that's the normal expression of surprise is, oh yeah, I've been having sore feet, is that why it is? And oh, I noticed that
Wow.
my skin is changing, and I noticed that my hair is changing, and I noticed that my body is changing shape, and so there are a whole lot of things that happen. And and once they can attribute it to perimenopause, then they feel a bit better because A, it's diagnosed, and B,
Yeah.
they don't feel like their whole body is falling apart. Is that there's some singular explanations for what's happening.
Mhm. Mhm.
Charlotte, do you have a similar experience with research, reading, listening to anything about pain science where you were like, oh, oh my goodness. Now, okay, there's a label, there's a, that somebody just said something and said, "Oh yeah, that's normal," or that can fall under this category. You go with that.
Okay. Well, I don't know. I think for me, the greatest insight is that pain is a very complex experience,
Mm.
and there's a whole lot that goes into it, and that gives me hope that even if I can't change like the mechanics of my body, I can I can still affect my pain experience from other angles, like social and emotional, and how I can lower the alert level in my brain so my brain doesn't feel the need to protect me all the time. Um, yeah, and it's just like it's way more holistic than I ever thought.
Mm.
And bringing it back to perimenopause, personally, I have felt really, really disconnected in the medical care that I've received.
Yeah.
And I found that my gynecologist kind of shrugged their shoulders when I raised questions. And so recently I changed to a more holistic practitioner, a more holistic clinic. And it's so amazing. It's like, wow, they actually want to listen to me. Well, they took time. The part of it is the practice model, because I think if you want to be holistic, you need more than 10 minutes to listen to what's going on with somebody.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Dinah, is Charla singing a different song, or are the two of you singing harmony to the same song when she talks about that?
Well, my company is called Holistic Nutrition Lifestyle, so I'm totally on board with that. Yes, yeah. So that holistic quality is the basis of certainly my approach in using lifestyle approaches to work through perimenopause symptoms. And of course, the benefit is all these lifestyle adjustments that can give us a lot, more enjoyable later years. Call it the third chapter. And using lifestyle approaches, it's not just good for perimenopause, but it's good for up leveling your lifestyle and living without pain, living without all kinds of heart trouble, osteoporosis, dementia, diabetes, what have you.
Those are all wonderful things I think we'd all like to avoid.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So Michael Holt, he's actually in the Portland area, if I remember correctly. He mentioned also that these conversations help people not feel alone in their fears of aging, and that is something that I realized. It was a table, and we were sitting there, and a person leaned forward and said, "But Christine, we don't want to talk about aging." And then I know that same person has, I will simply say, a family member, and that aging is always a topic of conversation in that home. And so we are so conflicted. I'm putting myself in your age area. I was born in 60. I say I'm a product of the 50s, but I was born just into 1960. That we don't want to talk about those things. If they happen, then we'll deal with it then. And also, we think it's really important to have some of these conversations ahead of time before crisis occurs, because we're not the first ones who've ever gotten old. We know these things, so we've just got this ping pong match going on in our minds, saying we oughta. And you are two women who didn't just say we oughta. You said, I'm grabbing hold of this. And both of you have expressed to me that there was like a crisis moment or an extreme upset that made you go, I'm looking into this. I'm going to find information. I'm going to put it out there so no one else has to bumble along or feel like no doctors or no employers quite understand this. I'm going to put this together because I have a brain. I'm going to figure this out. Both of you have said stuff like that.
Yeah, it's true. And, so I had a couple of, significant moments of realization. One was, my own realization that perimenopause was not being dealt with seriously by the medical community. and that if anyone was going to do anything about this, it was going to be me. So
Mhm.
that was one realization. But then when I decided that I was going to become a coach in this area and make this my, my world, my life, right? That this is what I'm investing in. Then I had to put some of the things that I had found into a framework, and I had to, and I had to think about how can we deliver this? How does this information land? Where are the people that I need to speak with, and what are their thought processes? And how can I make this information accessible to those people? So that was kind of another level of realization to think, well, how can we smooth out this aging process? It's inevitable. It doesn't have to be a struggle. We can smooth this out, and we can relieve that isolation that you talked about. Because women struggle with these things in silence for the most part. Even the people they do talk to don't really have a response. Their trusted medical providers are not not their supporters on this front. So yeah, a couple of major turning points there.
In situations where my husband and I have dealt with an agency on important matters, and we kind of got bounced around from desk to desk, and phone call to phone call, and paperwork to paperwork, and he was saying each person only knows what they know.
Mm.
And it's like if you had walked in with maybe other symptoms, and they might have identified it right away, but that their area of expertise does not cover that. Both of you are articulate, innovative. Um, I will not stop human beings, and you are both overcoming those barriers. One barrier is just inertia. Another one is fear. Another one is, what if people don't understand me, or they're just like, what are you even getting at? And it is so worth it for the person who goes, okay, you just touched on something, and all of a sudden both my ears are open, and I've got my pen and my paper, and I am ready to exchange with you, and maybe we can build each other up. And so, Charlotte, you were in that alliance, which I saw on
Mhm.
screen, and I saw a person who was a medically trained person in how to relieve pain, and also to deal with injury. He was a
Mhm.
physical therapist. Do I have that right?
Yes. Not only
Right.
that, a
And what what
geriatric
what what
physical
turned him
therapist.
into this? Go ahead. Yeah, talk
Not
about
only
that.
that, he's a certified geriatric physical therapist, which
Ooh.
amazes me. I didn't even know there was such a thing. Go on with your story, Christine.
Oh, no, this is exactly it. Now, I don't recall his name just now, but certified geriatric
Mhm,
physical therapist,
mhm,
and he ended up with pain. Now, this is his training. This is he knows about this, and yet
mhm,
he went down, the nice word is journey, but he went down into a terrible deep cavern of pain that he had to turn to others here
mhm.
and there, and the same thing. It wasn't that he was told, well, you don't understand what we're talking about, or you're not doing it right. It was like he
Absolutely.
he had to get out a machete and go through and find what he could do for himself, and that's why he was on that particular show.
His name is
um,
Ryan Murphy, and
Ryan.
he Ryan Murphy, he's based in Kennewick, Washington, and he describes it as debilitating
Mhm.
what he went through with his pain, and it was pain science that helped him get out of it, understanding better, more accurately, how pain is being created in the body, and how you can work on deconstructing pain, because it is a constructed experience that's very real, but it is constructed, and so that means it's possible to deconstruct it, which is really powerful, but hard for people to understand.
Mm.
Initially, a lot of people are like, "You're just saying my pain's all in my head," which is not it at all. It's very real pain. All pain is real. Okay, I'm going to stop.
All pain is real. I know you.
All pain is real. Yes.
We can all get going real bad on the things that we have been going into, but and
Yes.
I feel better about my aging every time I meet a Dinah Vink, every time I talk with a Charla Kinney Joseph, and I realize I could turn to one of you and go, something weird's going on, or I feel like, I'm losing it. I don't understand. Can you just tell me right to my face? Do I seem to be in early stage dementia? And I know that you would not just shrug it off, because you've both experienced the, sorry, but that's the only thing on the menu. And you're like, well, then I'm going to a different restaurant.
I wanted to say something else, Christine, as you were saying that we've confronted issues and we've said, hey, I'm not satisfied with this non-answer. I think that there's more, and I'm going to find it, and then I'm going to share it. One other factor that discourages us as women from doing that sort of thing is that it's not natural for us to say, I need for myself.
Mhm.
Because for many of us, for those of us who have been in caregiving roles for much of our lives, whether as mothers or as daughters or whatever, it takes an effort, and it takes a change in mindset for us to have the confidence and the understanding that self-care is essential and important. And if we don't take care of ourselves, we can't take care of the ones that we want to care for as well. So I have to thank my daughter for
Okay.
for helping me understand that my body and my health is important. Um, and it's okay for me to say, well, just because the medical authority doesn't think this issue is important doesn't mean that it isn't, because it's important to me, and that's enough.
Yes. And you were talking about self-care, and I want to thank Michael Holt again for his comment when that first came up, the fears of aging and not feeling alone, and not feeling like, well, I'm weird. Everyone else seems to be putting along and they're not talking about it. It doesn't come up in conversation when you're getting gas. But there are ways that you can speak to someone else, and just my husband's thing, which he is making this possible for us to come to the table today and have this conversation, is to say what's going on in your world is usually, is one way to open a door. I realized that I closed doors by saying, I'm into gerontology, or I'm doing research on aging, and it's like, oh, okay. But I finally learned at a gerontology conference that what I should say to people as I introduce myself is, I do video podcasting. And that opens a door, because people are like, I love podcasts. That happened 3 days ago with a 16-year-old. I like listening to podcasts. And I say, well, I do video ones. How can I see them? I'm going, kind of half apologetically. Well, it's probably really different than what you. Nope, I'm really interested. I said it's talking about when I get older and what's that like and how do I feel about that? And it's like, no, I think I want to see that because I've been writing a paper at school about thus and such, and I think that goes along with it. And I'm just like, oh, I love the way people surprise me.
Yeah.
So considering we are definitely at the half hour, I'm going to throw out a challenge to each of you to think about this for a moment. Have you found a way to say something to someone so that it opens them up to the subject that you really have something to share that could actually benefit their life or the life of someone that they care so much about? Have you found a way to open their mind to hearing more, learning more? Because it took me until June to figure out what to say and then let people be able to ask from me rather than going, uh-huh, uh-huh, uh-huh. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, have either of
China.
you figured
I,
that
I
out?
have. Yeah.
Mhm.
So when people ask me what I do and I say that I'm a coach to women in perimenopause, right away it's like, wow, and sometimes it's where were you when I needed you? Or sometimes it's,
Oh,
oh, my friend or my relative or something is going through that. And it happens almost every time I say it. So it's definitely one of those open door kinds of things. Yeah.
that's fantastic. I'm a coach to women, and then you get to something that most people recognize the word menopause, and they're just like, you mean you help people like me, or you can help my wife who is just uh, trying to figure, perfectly rational person and is feeling like I'm not getting any traction. I am stuck in molasses on this one, or
Yeah.
I feel like I'm frazzling or something. How about you, Charlotte?
Wow. Definitely not. I don't have an elevator pitch for pain science yet, as you can hear.
It took me all these years of, trying to describe things to people
Yeah.
at like being a teacher. And so you may find out that, somebody says something back to you someday and that boing is going to go off and you're like, I know how to open doors now so that I can be of more help. And you were talking about mindset, getting minds ready. Both of you are educators, and I have been too at in classrooms of how do you prepare their minds for what you're about to say without just jumping into it saying, next slide, turn to page whatever, what do you get them to start thinking about so that they are mentally um, hungry for what you're about to say, or that it guides them into asking questions on topic or something like that. So, Charlotte, I know this will happen now because now I'm telling you to watch for it. It was this dynamic gal who I would never want to get into a debate with. Like, she is definite and sure about everything. She goes, nobody wants to listen to 30 seconds. You have 3 sentences. I'm so and so. No, you say, hello, get their attention, say your name, and tell them one thing that they're like, what? I'm looking at her going, I have to do what she says because I don't want her to be mad at me. So she really forced me into it. It was great. It was great. So, okay, the cat
You're
is
out
up on
there.
the desk. Okay, it's okay. The windowsill's okay, not the desk. I know we're all three of us are off to do our next things. Dinah, um, Charlotte already knows, and I know, and my husband knows, but Michael Holt doesn't know how to get a hold of you because who knows how many people in his life are going to go, Michael, thank you. We didn't know you cared. We didn't know you understood. And he goes, nope, I'm just smart enough to find these great conversations on online. So how can Michael help women in his life?
Well, he can. What can he do? Well, he can listen, and he can take their concerns seriously. That would be a very big thing because men are not automatically knowledgeable about these things. And if women are confused, you imagine how confused men are, right?
Right.
So I think it involves some curiosity and some listening in order to to get a better sense of why this is happening, and that it's not just their desire to irritate people when they come up with some of these bizarre things, or when they have brain fog, or when they forget things, or have a headache, or if there's low libido, which is a very common symptom. Then they have a way to understand what is happening, and not just to blame, or to to sort of shut off. So that would certainly be the biggest thing, I think, for men to do, to start acknowledging this chapter of life.
And you were talking about, I love all of that. Yeah, the cat is going to be part of the show. I love all of that. And could he direct, say, his sister or something to a website that you mentioned earlier? The word holistic showed up.
Yes. So my website is holisticnutritionlifestyle.com.
And say it again because the cat just knocked something on the floor.
So the website is holisticnutritionlifestyle.com.
Holistic Nutrition Lifestyle. Charlotte, you are part of an alliance, Pain Science Alliance. Is there more to it than that? For a person, I mean, pain robs you of sleep. It robs you of participating. It robs you of being able to concentrate. Pain is definitely a fear in the future, thinking, am I going to get to the point where I can't escape it? Could you tell us more about that alliance?
Well, like I said, we're a community, and so we kind of learn together, share our stories, listen to each other, and hear about the latest research. And we're putting some of our content up on a website so that people can hear our community conversations where we're sharing our stories with each other. And that website is going to be painsciencelifestories.com. And
Pain,
should
pain
be up by
science,
the end of the
life
month. It's
stories.
not up yet, but watch your internet for pain science lifestories.com. And that's what
Yes.
I'm doing after this. I'm posting the content. It's so exciting.
Oh my goodness. What a moment. I mean, Michael might be going, oh my goodness, and this will be good for my uncle, and people are apparently, showing up and peeking in and looking at these conversations that you two have been so willing to participate in today. And I'm just really grateful that all three of us really understand that need to just push through the awkwardness and make it very normal to say, this could be part of my future. This is part of other people's lives who maybe are aging before us or aging ahead of us. And I just, when I have these conversations, I certainly don't mope away with the feeling of, oh, no, can we just quit all this talking about it and getting ready for it? It is a journey. It is sometimes needing a machete. Sometimes it's going down into darkness and feeling like you're feeling your way through. But more and more people are interconnecting. And I am grateful once again to LinkedIn for allowing that, being part of that in my world. That's pretty much my only social media. And so I'm so grateful that both of you were willing from the Willamette Valley in the state of Oregon in the United States, and from Dinah, you're in Ottawa?
Ottawa, Canada. Yes.
Yes. So Ottawa, is that your city or your, oh my goodness, I'm so bad with geography.
Yes, Ottawa is a city, and it's in the province of Ontario.
Oh, that's it. It's in the province of Ontario. I need to get back up to Canada and just enjoy all that beauty and all those amazing people that are, I don't know, I consider it such an international spot. I am so grateful to both of you. Thank you for coming to the table with me and talking about aspects of aging, our futures, what's happening right now. For a lot of people, we are the old people.
Mhm.
They're at a point where they're thinking literally, wow, I need to get things going in my life, because after 55, everyone says 55 plus, you get special breaks, and you have to be careful when you're exercising. So man, I've got to get my stuff going before 55 plus. And we know now that 55 plus could be the halfway point in our active lives. And so I'm really grateful that you two are just going, you know what? I have a reason to learn more, and that you're willing to share it. Thank you so much. I'm just going to say goodbye and thank you and wave and be so glad that I was here today.
Bye, Christine. Bye, Charla. Great to talk to you
Bye.
again.
Good to see you, Dinah.